Hello there, World of Tankers. Welcome back to another one of my videos. I am Blitz, and today I'm going to be talking about the VK90-01P. We have all been waiting such a long time for this tank to finally hit the Blitz fair. I woke up about 3 hours earlier today than I should have, just waiting for it to hit 8 a.m. on my clock so I could go into my garage and try and pick up this tank for the cheapest I possibly could. Now, I'm not going to be talking about the money in this video until the end of it so that I can tell you guys my opinion on whether you should even bother to try and pick up this tank. But as always, in the beginning of this video, I'm going to be talking about the tank, how to run it, where to run it, all the armor profile statistics, and everything else you do need to know. Now, the VK90, what is so special about this tank? Because as you can see, it looks very, very similar to the VK75, mixed sort of with like a VK45. And in my opinion, and I told my friend this too, I feel that they really should have made this VK90 the tier 10 tech tree tank and the VK72 the premium, because it looks just so identical and it plays very, very similarly to the tier 9 VK4502B. So how are they similar? Well, first of all, it has a 460 damage gun. Now, there is one huge difference they have, though, and this tank has 275 millimeters of pen on the standard ammo. Now, I think that actually is the best standard pen out of every tier 10 heavy in the entire game, so that just gives you an example of just how impressive the pen is. However, there is one thing I will point out, and Wargaming did a pretty smart balancing factor on the ammo. They gave it very, very good standard pen, as I said. However, the premium pen is not the best at all. It's only 320 millimeters thick, and that's one of the lowest premium ammunition pens at tier 10. I think that's even lower than like the T62As. And even if you do run calibrated, it's still not that impressive at 336. Pretty much every other tank in tier 10 will be having a lot higher premium ammo pen than that. So it's going to struggle to penetrate superstructures or like the Foch's upper plate. Certain vehicles that are very, very thick, it's going to have a very tough time penetrating. So I do give Wargaming a very nice amount of credit for balancing out the premium ammo by giving the AP ammo just such a high amount of penetration. Now, I personally do run calibrated on the tank just so I can get that extra amount of pen out. It really does help in certain scenarios because you're literally running around with almost 290 millimeters of penetration on the standard ammo. Not sure why I was about to say 300 there, but 290 is just a ridiculous amount for your standard. It's just never really going to bounce anything that you come up across, and you really shouldn't even need to fire premium ammo unless you are, aiming at like superstructures of E100s, Jagdpanzers, stuff like that. Now, you will be noticing one funky thing about the tank, and that is the gun depression. Certain times you'll notice that the gun can barely aim down when I'm driving over hills, and the next moment you'll see it can clearly aim all the way down to the sides. And that's because over the front of this tank, it has just the worst gun depression ever. It's only 4 degrees, and over the sides, I think it has 8 degrees. And it's a very, very funky feeling because when you're pulling around a corner, sometimes you just cannot depress the gun because the front is sticking out, or you're in certain scenarios where you're in a very tough area. But you can see I'm always trying to position this tank in a way so that I can always hide the front of my tank the easiest and also use my gun depression to the best of my abilities. You can always see here, always angling the tank to the side so I can use the gun depression, because 4 degrees, ooh, that is not going to be getting you very far, especially because this tank is such a tall vehicle. When you do angle this tank to the side to get that extra gun depression out, a lot of your vehicle does stick out. As you can see, that Jagdpanzer almost had a clear shot on the whole front of our tank. So that is one thing you do need to remember, is that when you're trying to get shots off on people and you're angling this vehicle to the side, a lot of people can get very nice and clean shots right into the tank's side. So it is a pretty very balanced tank in my opinion in all of the characteristics. You really have to know how to angle, how to run the tank, how to do everything in general to really do well in this tank. And it took me quite some battles to figure this out because I was pushing it just super aggressive, and that's not how this tank rolls. It's not like a VK72 where you can just push out there, do 640 damage, back up, pull out again. because the difference is the VK-72 actually has the worst damage per minute out of every tier 10 in the game, which sounds just awful, but it really isn't, because what ends up happening is you don't really have to pull out at all. This tank you have to constantly pull out with your 11.5 second reload, which is not bad at all, giving you an average damage per minute of like 2,600. Not bad, it's actually quite good. But because your damage per minute is so good, you have to keep pulling out and keep trading with the enemy, and if they load heat, they'll easily go through your lower plate if you're not angling correctly. So it's a definitely tough tank to know how to work, but I'm going to get stuck straight into the armor profile so you can see definitely how to angle it. Now, when you do take a look at this tank's armor profile, you can see it is one heavily armored beast at that. The upper plate of this tank sitting around 330 thick. Even the turret cheeks of this tank are 305 thick. The cupola, you might think that's a weak spot, still 350, 300 millimeters thick. Very, very tough to penetrate, probably the toughest superstructure of a tank in the game to penetrate. And even the lower plate, it may look like it's easy to pen, however 235 still is not the easiest to penetrate in the game. And when you do get this tank on an angle, you can definitely see that now that lower plate's about 250 thick, upper plate's 360, the edges of the tank still trying to shoot through that track wheel 306 thick. It is definitely one of the hardest tanks in the game at tier 10 to penetrate. It is just super, super well armored. However, as most tier 10s, there is one big kryptonite to this vehicle, and that is if you load premium ammo, you can see that pretty much the entire upper plate of this tank just becomes an instant penetration when looking dead on. The entire upper plate, the cheeks of the tank are very easy to penetrate as well. You can penetrate the cupola, so you can see Heat Pen can easily take out this vehicle, and that is one thing you definitely need to keep in mind, is really, you can easily take out this tank as long as you do load your premium ammo if you do go up against it. So don't think this is just an impenetrable beast. It definitely is able to be taken out. The only reason that Jagdpanzer is having such a hard time of penning me, even with the heat, is because I'm just moving back and forth, and I'm on a slant as well, so my armor is becoming even thicker to penetrate, barely even showing the top of my turret, and the gun mantlet of this thing is literally like 1,000 millimeters thick. So it is a very, very tough tank to penetrate all round, and because of that, it is probably one of the just toughest heavy tanks in all the aspects when you combine them together. Now, you can see I've already blocked 3,000 damage this game. I've done an excellent job just bouncing shells, doing the best I can, holding the line. Me and my buddy over here are just doing the best job possible. And, you might be thinking, well, is this tank overpowered? Because it looks pretty overpowered, and it definitely is not overpowered. A lot of people have been saying, oh my god, it's overpowered, I can't penetrate it, blah, blah, blah. It is by no means an overpowered tank. If you put this in comparison to like a T-22 medium, the T-22 is just light years ahead. And that, first of all, the reason is because it only goes 30 kilometers per hour, which means if your team's going to lose, they're going to lose. And I have found that out the hard way quite a few games. When I first started playing this tank, I would push it to certain spots where I'd think I'd get there quick enough, or I'd think I'd be able to hold the line, but I'd realize, oh wait, my whole team's dead, I can't do anything. So then I'm like, well, that's not good, and your team would pretty much just completely fall apart. You couldn't do anything because you're not quick enough to hold off the enemy or really do much about that, and then that would be the end of the game. And I'd have quite a few games like that. So it was very hard for me to get out such a high damage game just because this tank isn't super fast. The AMX-30B, I was able to pull out that 6.6 thousand damage replay yesterday just because the tank is so quick. I was able to reposition, able to get my shots off across the map. You can't do that in a tank like the VK90. You need to pick where you're going before you go there, because on certain maps that might be the last decision you get to make. If you pick the wrong spot, you're done. You're not getting out of there. AMX-30B, you can reposition, reflank, that's it, you're gone. This tank, you can see here, I'm sort of stuck in a certain area until I know that I'm safe or I can push on somewhere else. So it definitely is a very tough tank to know where to push, but it does do the job very, very well. You can see here the 30 definitely does not limit it if you do manage to get a push on the enemy, and it is quite a heavy tank, so you can get some nice rams in as well. You can see here this Bat Chat spamming heat at me, only pens one of the shells, but again, does manage to pen one, so you can see armor is not completely impenetrable. That lower plate is quite a weak spot if you can aim in on it. But literally, we have blocked 5,200 damage this game. That is just an insane number. I have not blocked that much damage probably in a year. And the fact that I managed to block that much in this tank really did surprise me. Come on, get that HE, and yes, 700 damage there on that HE. Quite a nice roll with that fire. And you can see again, I'm trying to angle this tank. Also, when I said it had 8 degrees of gun depression before this side, it actually has 10 degrees, so even more than I did think. So that is one really good thing about the tank, is you can use that gun depression right over the side. You saw I used it there to snap that WT. If I was using it in the front of this tank, you would have seen me just not be able to aim down at all. You can see there I was literally not able to aim down onto that turret of that K91 with that 4 degrees over the front, just because this vehicle is so tall. So a little tip, if you do want to take out this tank, is just stay in front of it. If you are running like an IS-7 and you face hug this tank, you can load APCR ammo right into the front of it, because as I said, the front's only about 330 thick, which means that as soon as you load your premium ammo, you'll be penning right through that tank's superstructure with butter, and not to mention 4 degrees of gun depression will not be able to aim down on your tank. So you definitely can take advantage of that in your IS-7 and take apart the enemy. But this was the best game I could pull out in the tank out of like 37 games, and as you saw yesterday, I had some very, very good games, and I only played a couple games in those tier 10s yesterday to pull out very, very similar results. So it definitely is not an overpowered tank. And now to the topic of the price of this vehicle. You're probably all wondering, well, how much did it cost you to pick up this tank burning? Well, it cost me $600. This was the most expensive tank I've had to pick up in the Blitz Fair yet to this date, and I didn't think it was going to be that much. I looked at the event, I had 1.6 million experience saved up. If I hadn't have had that experience saved up, it probably would have cost me about $800, $900 to pick up this tank, and I would not have spent that money. The only reason I dropped the money I did is because I had extra money from YouTube left over, because you guys have supported me so much and helped this channel grow so much. I was able to drop some of my YouTube money into this tank, as well as the Patreon money that you guys do help me out. So you guys made this video possible, believe it or not. So I do want to thank all of you guys for the love and support you give this channel, and continue to do so. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already to make this channel really grow and reach to the stars. But you can definitely see that the tank can do the trick. It's just that $600 is not going to make it worth that price tag. And you may be thinking, well, I might be able to pick it up in that lucky draw or whatever the stupid thing is that you get the snow globe for. Well, it's literally a 1% drop chance for this tank, and you might think, well, I might be able to pick up the T-22 medium in it. Nope, 1% as well. So pretty much to get both of those tanks, you have a 2% drop chance to either get the T-22 medium or the VK90 when you do open up that snow globe. And I think you can only get pretty much about one of them for free. So, yeah, that is not going to get you very far. 2% drop chance, that is the worst drop chance I can really think of in the game. Now, I'm not going to say this event's bad, because I actually got an IS-3 Defender for free. I already owned it, but I literally got the IS-3 Defender for free with my free experience just by saving up. That's not too shabby if you do think about it. You know, if you're a brand new player and you just ground down those stupid Clementines, and yeah, the Clementines, to be honest, are really, really stupid. I didn't think that they were that bad, but I didn't realize that every single time you used the 10 Clementines, then it made the next crate 20, and then the next crate 30, and then the next 40, and 50, and 60. I'm guessing it keeps going up. And the issue with that is, what was Wargaming thinking? That is going to take forever. Literally, it's going to take 30 victories now just to open up one crate, which could give me, ooh, look at that. It's like 5 to 50 snowflakes you can get in it. It's just completely useless. Snowflakes. 5 to 50. Now, to get the tank, it's literally like, I think, 3,300 snowflakes. Now, if it did only take 10 battles to get one of those crates, I did the math, it would take you about 10 hours a day of non-stop grinding for the next 20 days, and you'd pretty much get the tank for free, which, you know, you might complain that you have to do 10 hours of grinding every day, but you are getting a free tier 10 tank. However, That's not how it worked, because as I said, it pretty much adds another 10 clementines every single time you open up the crate, so it is completely impossible to earn this tank for free unless you do get it in that snow globe. So that is a disclaimer I want to throw out there now. Don't think you're going to get this tank for free by grinding down the event, and don't think you're going to get it for a cheap price. The cheapest you will probably get this tank without a million free experience sitting around, and if you don't pick it up in the snow globes, I'd say about $800. So yeah, not worth it. That's what really disappointed me about this event, is just how expensive it is to pick up this tank. Why, Wargaming? Why are you charging people so much money to pick up this tank? In World of Tanks PC, I dropped about $150 on their Blitz fair, or the winter fair they have, just to see what I could get out of it, because I still play the game a little. I managed to get all 4 of the rare Tier 8 premiums they have. They don't have any Tier 10 premiums, but I managed to get the rare Tier 8 premiums they had, including the double-barreled Tier 8 Russian heavy tank, and who doesn't want that? So I managed to get all of those 70,000 gold, plus like 220 days of premium. It was just such a better payout over frickin' Blitz over here. You get 1 Tier 10 and that's it. I have no free experience. Oh, but I got 21 million credits. What am I going to do with 21 million credits? I have every single Tier 10 in the game. I have every Tier 8 in the game, every Tier 9 in the game. I literally own a contributor account pretty much by now. Because Wargaming won't give me one, I have to supply my own contributor account for myself. And I don't understand why it's just such a bad event. You literally get nothing out of grinding down this event, except maybe one good, premium vehicle. And my guess is Wargaming's not even going to give you that. You'll probably get some stupid Gravedigger, which nobody wants. Uh, but really, I'm just very disappointed in the overall event and how much money it would cost you to pick up this tank. And I really do like it. I think it's a very balanced tank. It's not overpowered, and that's why I do like it, because as you guys know, I really strongly advise against getting overpowered tanks, because I really feel it ruins the matchmaker. And I think Wargaming did an excellent job on this vehicle, perfectly balanced it. It has a perfect balance of firepower, speed, damage per minute, accuracy. Everything on the tank is just perfect. But yet they just had to ruin it by throwing it in this stupid Blitz fair. They could have made this tank just an epic reward tank you could have earned by playing 5 hours a day. I don't care how long, but that would have just been awesome, and you couldn't have purchased it. And that would have just been a great idea, like the mission marathons they have in World of Tanks PC. Why can't they do that in Blitz? I don't know. But that is my review on this tank. I hope you did enjoy it. As always, make sure to smash the like button if you did. If you didn't, hit the downvote button. Please let me know why you didn't like it in the comments down below. And other than that, guys, make sure to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one, guys.